In the future, the USA will face a severe drought, and people will be willing to kill for water. The home family stays because their father Ernest believes that if they can get some water. Two thieves try to break into Ernest's farm, and Ernest catches them red-handed and opens fire. One of the thieves shoots back, and the second thief asks for mercy, but Ernest sees the gun and shoots him first. The home family eventually finds a pump in the building, but it doesn't provide any water, so they have to force their mule to continue without drinking. They encounter the Watermen, a group that monopolizes the distribution of water extracted from deep wells through a government agreement. Ernest gives them supplies, and the men pay him with water. He reminds Jerome not to anger these guys, as they are dangerous. On their way home, their mule falls and gets severely wounded, and Ernest shoots it to end its suffering. Jerome cries but swears he could have done it. When they arrive at the farm, Jerome's sister Mary serves them MREs and listens to the radio while Jerome sketches animals. Suddenly, Ernest hears a noise and rushes outside to discover Mary has sneaked out to meet her secret boyfriend. They bid on a robot called Simulate Shadow, or Sim, to replace their mule, but Ernest wins the auction, and his debt worsens. The couple considers selling their baby, but Ernest advises them against it and promises to help them with the water. Later, Flam shows up at the farm, revealing himself to be Mary's secret boyfriend. He asks Sam to borrow money and promises to pay a rental fee, but Ernest refuses unless Sam signs a guarantee. Flam gets offended and tells Ernest he won't irrigate the land before leaving. The next time Jerome and Ernest meet the Watermen, they have a wonderful time thanks to Sim, and Ernest starts talking the guys into considering an offer to put a water line on his farm. Ernest tells Jerome he needs to get out and make friends, but Jerome would rather take care of his family. Later, Ernest and Jerome awaken to find Sim missing. Ernest assumes it is Flam and goes to his house, but he learns that Flam left in a truck that morning for the mountain film. Obsessed with losing his family, now owns Ernest's farm, once owned by Sam. Despite Sam's belief in the infertility of the land and the ineffectiveness of water, Ernest falls unconscious and awakens at the Watermen's camp, facing accusations of stealing their supplies through Sim. He insists he didn't do it, but Caleb attacks him. After a fight, Ernest steals Caleb's knife and a rifle, which he shoots in the air to keep everyone back. On his way home, Ernest finds Flem sleeping by the fire, and Sim nearby. Flam steals the machine and supplies to make Ernest look bad, but they are too thirsty to last for long. Flam persuades Ernest to pause for a drink, but the supplies contain alcohol instead of water, causing Ernest to quickly become intoxicated due to his addiction. Flam only pretends to drink, claiming that Caleb wanted his head and stole the machine in order to survive. He even offers Ernest money, but he turns it down because the story is suspicious. Flem strikes Ernest with a rock, causing him to hit his head on the cliff. Ernest's drinking habits trigger a flashback of Catherine's car accident, in which he bleeds and falls unconscious. Later, as Ernest awakens, Sim ties him up, and Flem pours more alcohol into his mouth while he screams like a madman. Jerome decides to go looking for Ernest, and by nightfall, he finds Sim at the Watermen's camp. The siblings cry together and visit their mom to give them the terrible news. Flem picks them up in his truck and takes them home. At the farm, Jerome starts hitting Sim with a hammer, but Flam comes to stop him. He explains that grief is hard, but he can't let it ruin a source of income. He offers to become the family's new head so he can help his siblings. A few days later, Flam installs the new farm pump and works diligently to plant and grow wheat, irrigated by sprinklers. The family relishes the showers, and gradually, the land transforms into a verdant landscape. Flem and Mary tie the knot, and during the celebration, Flam indulges in alcohol and persistently contemplates Ernest's passing. Sam shows up at the farm with two men from the bank, who want Flem to pay off Ernest's debt. Flem scares the horses with his bike to make them look tough, but Sam scolds him. The next night, Flem sells Sim to Robbie, who asks for his baby. The buyers open fire, killing Robbie and Flem, who shoot back as he runs away. The exchange catches Sim, and the damage sets off a mode that sends him back to the original factory. Calvin, the city's builder, meets Sim, a farm boy, there. Jerome, who is suspicious, runs to the local market to find Flem talking to Suze, pretending it's her baby. Flem takes Soon away, and Jerome learns that Robbie stole Sim and abandoned his family. As a minor without a guardian, Jerome decides to visit his mother, Anna, but she denies him entry. Anna offers to take him to the factory, but only takes half the money as payment. Jerome discovers that Sim's eyes are cameras that capture everything Sim has seen. Calvin teaches him how to use the machine and gives him some privacy. Jerome becomes emotional when he sees his dad again, but this transforms into horror when he learns that Flem killed Ernest. It turns out that Flem tied Ernest to the machine and sent it in the direction of the waterman's camp, making it look like Sim had lost control and dragged Ernest to his death by accident. In the middle of the office, Jerome has a breakdown and returns home, asking Flem how he got Sim back. Flem is shocked to see Sim standing there with no damage, believing Robbie must have brought it back out of guilt. A few days later, Jerome visits Catherine and promises to take care of her like Ernest did. One afternoon, Flem fails all his shots and passes the rifle to Jerome, blaming the weapon for his failure. Jerome hides the rifle in his room and later receives a letter from Robbie pretending to be Robbie, asking Flem to meet Robbie on the cliff. Flem falls down into a hidden pit and breaks his legs, begging for help from Sim. Jerome shows up and stares at Flem with a rock in his hand, making him realize the boy knows the truth. Flem begs Jerome to consider his sister and the baby, and he delivers a lengthy speech about accidents and regret, which ultimately leads to Jerome becoming frustrated and shooting Flem. When Jerome returns home, he lets Mary think that Flem abandoned her and doesn't tell her how Ernest really died. The siblings agree to buy the machine so Catherine can live with them, and Jerome erases all the footage from Sim, ready to start over.